Human nature. In man there are two natures, his spiritual or higher nature and his material or lower nature. In one he approaches God, in the other he lives for the world alone. Signs of both these natures are to be found in men. In his material aspect he expresses untruth, cruelty, and injustice. All these are the outcome of his lower nature. The attributes of his divine nature are shown forth in love, mercy, kindness, truth, and justice, one and all being expressions of his higher nature. Every good habit, every noble quality belongs to the man's spiritual nature, whereas all his imperfections and sinful actions are born of his material nature. If a man's divine nature dominates his human nature, we have a saint. Man has the power both to do good and to do evil. If his power for good predominates and his inclination to do wrong are conquered, then man in truth may be called a saint. But if, on the contrary, he rejects the things of God and allows his evil passions to conquer him, then he is no better than a mere animal. What are the animal's propensities? To eat, drink, wander about, and sleep. The thoughts, the minds of the animal are confined to these. They are captives in the bonds of these desires. Man becomes a prisoner and slave to them when his ultimate desire is no longer than his welfare in this world of the senses. Consider how difficult for man is the attainment of pleasures and happiness in this mortal world. How easy it is for the animal. Look upon the fields and flowers, prairies, streams, forests, and mountains. The grazing animals, the birds of the air. The fishes neither toil nor undergo hardships. They sow not, nor are they concerned about the reaping. They have no anxiety about business or politics, no trouble or worry whatsoever. All the fields and grasses, all the meadows of fruits and grains, all the mountain slopes and streams of salubrious water belong to them. They do not labor for their livelihood and happiness because everything is provided and made possible for them. If the life of man be confined to this physical, material outlook, the animal's life is 100 times better, easier, and more productive of comfort and contentment. The animal is nobler, more serene and confident because each hour is free from anxiety and worriment. But man, restless and dissatisfied, runs from morn till eve, sailing the seas, diving beneath them in submarines, flying aloft in airplanes, delving into the lowest strata of the earth to obtain his livelihood, all with the greatest difficulty, anxiety, and unrest. Therefore, in this respect, the animal is nobler, more serene, poised, and confident. Consider the birds in the forest and jungle, how they build their nests high in the swaying treetops, build them with the utmost skill and beauty, swinging, rocking in the morning breezes, drinking the pure sweet water, enjoying the most enchanting views as they fly here and there high overhead, singing joyously, all without labor, free from worry, care, and forebodings. If man's life be confined to the elemental, physical world of enjoyment, one lark is nobler, more admirable than all humanity, because its livelihood is prepared, its condition complete, its accomplishment perfect and natural. But the life of man is not so restricted. It is divine, eternal, not mortal and sensual. For him, a spiritual existence and livelihood is prepared and ordained in the divine creative plan. His life is intended to be a life of spiritual enjoyment to which the animal can never attain. This enjoyment depends upon the acquisition of heavenly virtues. Therefore, consider how base a nature it reveals in man that, notwithstanding the favors showered upon him, he should lower himself into the animal sphere, be wholly occupied with material needs, attached to this mortal realm, imagining that the greatest happiness is to attain wealth in this world. How purposeless! What an ignorance this is! What a blindness! How glorious the station of man who has partaken of the heavenly food and built the temple of his everlasting residence in the world of heaven. In short, man is endowed with two natures. One tendeth towards moral sublimity and intellectual perfection, while the other turneth to bestial degradation and carnal imperfections. If ye travel the countries of the globe, ye shall observe on one side the remains of ruin and destruction, while on the other ye shall see the signs of civilization and development. Such desolation and ruin are the result of war, strife, and quarreling, while all development and progress are fruits of the light, of virtue, cooperation, and concord. Man is the highest degree of materiality, and at the beginning of spirituality, that is to say, he is the end of imperfection and the beginning of perfection. He is at the last degree of darkness and at the beginning of light. If the divine power in man, which is his essential perfection, overcomes the satanic power which is absolute imperfection, he becomes the most excellent among the creatures. But if the satanic power overcomes the divine power, he becomes the lowest of the creatures. That is why he is the end of imperfection and the beginning of perfection. Not in any other of the species in the world of existence is there such a difference, contrast, contradiction, and opposition as in the species of man. Thus, knowledge is a quality of man, and so is ignorance. Truthfulness is a quality of man, so is falsehood. Trustworthiness and treachery, justice and injustice are qualities of man, and so forth. Briefly, all the perfections and virtues and all the vices are qualities of man. When man allows the Spirit, through his soul, to enlighten his understanding, then does he contain all creation. But, on the other hand, when man does not open his mind and heart to the blessing of the Spirit, but turns his soul towards the material side, towards the bodily part of his nature, then is he fallen from his high place and becomes inferior to the inhabitants of the lower animal kingdom. O Son of Spirit, noble have I created thee, yet thou hast abased thyself. Rise then unto that for which thou wast created.